So I spent the last several months basically turning all of the original Ben 10 aliens into more realistic adaptations using Photoshop, and today we're gonna do something even more bigger, cooler, and epic. Yeah, I don't know why I'm making it sound so dramatic when it's literally just a Photoshop artwork, but basically I'm gonna put all of these aliens combined into one massive artwork. So if you wanna see how that turns out, stick up till the end of the video and see it for yourself. Also, I'm gonna make another version of the same artwork where I'll be including band 2, since what's a band 10 artwork without Ben? But anyway, without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So I already had the concept in mind on how I wanted this artwork to look like. I knew from the start that I wanted to have a city way back in the background and some bright green glow coming from behind. That in return would give me the opportunity to add some nice highlights to all of these aliens. And also, since green is pretty much the main color that you see in literally everything Ben 10 related, I just knew I had to add that. Then obviously not to forget the ground, because how else are these aliens gonna stand? They're not just gonna float in there, you know? No, I know I said in the beginning that I only wanted some green glow behind all of the aliens, but then I kinda just thought, let's just make the whole thing green, you know? So I did that by using a gradient map where I just picked some green colors starting from the darkest to the brightest, and that changed the whole feel and atmosphere of the whole artwork, especially the sky and the clouds. I just really like the sky and the clouds in green. Once the whole base was built, I started on adding all of the aliens and placing them accordingly. Now, placing the aliens in the right spots was definitely harder than I anticipated and definitely took quite some time, but eventually I managed to finally get a result that I like. At the same time, I also tried to get the sizes of these aliens as accurate as possible. So for that, I actually just used the Ben 10 alien size card that I found on Google as a reference, and well, that actually did do the job. At the end, I still don't think the sizes are 100% accurate, but they still look good enough, so who cares really. Once all of the aliens were set in place, I immediately started working on the important parts, and that was obviously the shadows, the highlights, the lighting, and so on. So for that, I first started by blending the aliens in with the background. So I would just make them darker because the environment that they're in is pretty dark, and later on I would also color correct them. After that, I immediately started by sort of experimenting with the shadows on the ground, because at this point these aliens looked like they were floating in air and I just couldn't bear to see that. Now I say experimenting because I kinda tried a few different methods to add the ground shadows to see which one adds for a more realistic look, but eventually I just ended up hand painting them in with a simple brush, and that actually did work. Next we had Heat Blast, which as we all know, it's made out of fire, and as we know, fire is pretty bright and casts a lot of light, so that just meant that some yellow highlights were set in place in the ground and those aliens near Heat Blast. So I did that too. It wasn't anything special, but I just thought it was important to point it out. After that was done, now it was time for the most exciting part, but also the most time consuming part, and that was adding the highlights to all of these aliens, which should be fun, right? Yeah, not really. Anyway, I'm not really gonna get into deep length on how I did those highlights, because there's plenty of other artists out there that are much better than me who have already done tutorials on how to add exactly that. One of those guys is Benny Productions. He already made 2 tutorials on just that topic alone, so just go check him out if you wanna learn. But anyway, I'm gonna let those parts play out in a speed art segment, since there's really nothing much to say here, and it just consists of me adding highlights to all of these aliens for 2 hours straight, so you can probably already tell the pain that I went through. But anyway, enjoy the short speed art segment. Okay, so here, funny thing, my eyes started telling me that there was something wrong with this artwork, but I just couldn't really tell what. So after spending some time looking at it, I managed to find the problem, and the problem was actually the lighting. So to put it simple, basically for this artwork, there was only one light source, which obviously was the green glow coming from behind all of the aliens, and in front of them there really wasn't any light source. So in other words, this part just had to be a lot darker. So to do that, I just used an exposure adjustment layer and started, well, painting on the areas that should be darker, simple as that. And it was crazy how much of a big difference that actually made. It immediately transformed the whole artwork. Before, after. So at this point the artwork was, well, almost done. I just spent some more time on fine tuning and fixing some small stuff. I also thought the ground was looking a bit too plain in my opinion, so to fix that I just added some cracks just to spice things up even more, and well, here are the results. So as you can probably tell, I did go through a few changes. I mean, first of all, I replaced the cracks on the ground with some green lava type of cracks. I just thought since everything in this artwork is glowing green, it would be a good idea to add some green lava cracks too. And well, I'm kinda glad I did that because it ended up looking quite nice. Then I also added some motion blur to Stinkfly wings to make it look like it's actually flapping the wings, because I mean, how else would he be flying, right? And after that, I just added the final little touches like some particles, which really made the whole thing feel more complete, you know? And well, that's all about it. And now let's get to, well, editing the actor to play Ben. Alright, so for this one, I first needed to find an actor to play Ben. I mean, obviously. So for that, I scavenged through the internet to find a candidate, and eventually I came across Connor Asterson. I mean, I hope I spelled his name right, which I thought could do the job. No, I know some people might not agree with my casting choice, but I mean, it's not like this is an actual movie that's about to happen, so who cares really? Anyways, once the casting part was done, now it was time for, well, the most important part, turning him into Ben. And that turned out to be much more harder than I anticipated. At first, I thought it would be just a matter of finding the right pose image and just switching the faces with that of the actor, but unfortunately it wasn't as easy as that, sadly. I couldn't really find the right pose that I wanted in my mind, even after I spent what felt like eons searching through online. So that meant that I just had to build a pose myself. Easy, right? Well, not really. After I spent another tedious amount of time, I found these images which I thought could work for the pose that I wanted, and well, I got straight to work. And I know, just looking at these images, you're probably gonna be like, how the hell are you gonna create something nice with them? And I'm gonna be honest, I also had that very same question in mind when I first started it. But I mean, I still just trusted the process, which thankfully it did not disappoint at the end. Anyway, the whole idea here was to basically take out a few elements from each image and build, well, my own pose. So in other words, I just had to cut this guy limb by limb to craft my own pose. Literally. Speaking of which, I almost forgot to mention, I found these images from this user on Deviantart called Null Entity, so you can go and check him out if you want. Anyways, I first started by cutting out all of the images, I mean, obviously, the most important part. Then I took this image as the main base for the whole pose. After that, I took this other image, which I only cut off the arm because I mean that's what I needed, and started placing it on, well, where the arm should be. Then I also took this other image, which again I only cut off the arm and, well, placed it again on where the arm should be. After that was done, it looks something like this, and well, this is nothing short of monstrosity. Now, obviously, he was missing a hand, so I fixed that too. Now, the next thing that this guy needed was clothes, obviously, because I mean, he was naked. So I first started by adding his pants, which already made the whole thing a lot better and gave me a glimpse of hope that this thing might actually work. After that, I also added the t-shirt too, and after a few tries and some warp, it looks something like this, which, well, as you can see, it's quite the difference from the Frankenstein's monster we had before. After that, I just thought it would be appropriate to finally add the Omnitrix on his hand, and well, after scavenging through the internet for some time, I came across this, which was exactly what I needed. Now, the interface of the Omnitrix wasn't really the one that I was looking for, but don't worry, we are going to change that later. After I cut out the image, I added the Omnitrix on his hand. Here I also replaced the interface of the Omnitrix with, well, the Omnitrix logo, because I mean, it just made sense, you know? And after some blending, this is what it looked like. Now, it was just a matter of fixing the lighting, adding the shadows, and well, that's exactly what I did. Now, I almost forgot the most important part, the iconic black stripes on his shirt, so I added them too. I did that by manually making the black shapes with the pen tool, and after that I used a bit of blend if to make it look like the stripes are actually a part of his shirt and, well, more realistic, you know. Now, for some reason the blend if option didn't really do a great job, so I also tried using different blending modes and reducing the opacity, thinking that maybe that will work better, but none of that worked, so I just ended up using blend if nonetheless. Here I also made the color of his eyes green, because I mean that's what the color of his eyes is. So it was pretty straightforward, and it was one of those things that even though it was quite small, it did make quite the difference. At this point you're probably thinking, where are his shoes? And well, here are they. So then I spent again some more time on, well, the overall lighting, adding some shadows, some highlights, and well, here are the results. I'm not gonna lie, I am quite surprised how well this turned out, especially considering with, well, what images I had to work with, but I'm still very happy with the results. So now that we got the last piece of the puzzle, we can finally go ahead and add him to the wallpaper and see how that turns out. No, I'm not really gonna talk you through a lot here, because I mean it's basically the same process as I did with the other aliens. I placed Ben accordingly, blended him in with the background, fixed the lighting, added the shadows and highlights, and well, that's about it. So after an hour or so working on it, this is how it came out to be. I gotta say, when I first looked at it, it looked a bit weird. I don't know why. I think one of the primary reasons for that was because Ben looked way too small compared to all of these aliens. And I know it's accurate to the size, since I mean Ben is literally just 10 years old and some of these aliens are quite big. However, now that I think about it, I don't think I should have strived towards a more realistic look, but rather a more artistic and aesthetic look. But I mean, it's done now, so I guess it is what it is. But looking back at it now, I feel like that issue of Ben being too small has been fixed. Also, the main work has been really with making the artwork with all of these aliens, and I think I've already done a great job on that. So I feel like making Ben has just been more of like a side project, really, just to see how it fits in with all of these aliens. And also it just makes sense, since like I said in the beginning, you can't really have a Ben 10 artwork without Ben, so yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I think this wraps this video for today. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to turn on the notifications down below by clicking on that bell icon so you don't miss a single video. And I guess I'll see you in the next one.